Okay, calling to order. I would like to call to order the the April 2nd, 2025 regular meeting of the City of Rolling Meadows Planning and Zoning Commission at 7:00 p.m. Please silence your electronic devices. Staff, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Gherkin.
Here.
Commissioner Burchett.
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan.
Here.
Commissioner Leone.
Here.
Commissioner Modi.
Here.
Commissioner Felstein is absent, and Chair Buckingham.
Here. With 6 members present, I declare a quorum. The minutes of the prior meeting are still being prepared, so those will be, the approval of those will be deferred to the next commission meeting scheduled for May 6th. So we have 2 items of pending business and 1 item of new business tonight. And so we see a number of folks here. Welcome. Glad to have everybody. A few familiar faces. Right. So just a few preliminary remarks before we open the meeting. So at the last commission, we heard on the merits the Kirchhoff Road study plan, and we voted on it. And that included voting on the merits on the road diet. And we voted that down, and we are just making recommendations to the city council. Our vote is not binding. So we took testimony. We heard from some of you, as well as others, heard from city staff. We had a discussion, and we voted on the merits of that study. We approved it except for the road diet, or at least we approved to recommend it to the city council. So that, just so everyone's clear, that study is now before the city council, and they've had, 2 readings so far, and they're scheduled for a 3rd reading at the next meeting, which is April 8th. I don't know if they're going to vote on the merits there to approve it or not, but they very well may. So if any of you are here tonight to provide further perspective, comment, questions on that, I would encourage you to attend the April 8th City Council meeting. So we're not going to discuss that tonight. That's already water under the bridge. Tonight, what we're doing is, in terms of 2 items of pending business, we're continuing the public hearing that we started last meeting regarding 2 items related to that, considering the approval of the new zoning districts pursuant to that study, and then if those were approved, also hearing considerations to change zoning designations of certain buildings pursuant to those new zoning regulations. So we're actually not prepared to discuss these as a commission tonight. The zoning rules and the application of those, the new zoning rules. What we're going to do is we're continuing those until the next commission meeting, which is May 6th. And I understand, staff, we're doing that because the city council has not approved on the merits in a binding fashion the corridor study on which all this is based. Is that fair?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The City Council is still deliberating, therefore, because the comprehensive plan amendment has neither been approved or, turned down.
Sure.
It doesn't make sense for us to move forward with these hearings in front of this body at this time.
So we don't want to get the cart before the horse and hear something in terms of new zoning regulations that the city council may never even, it may become moot depending on what the city council does on the corridor study So this is a bit of a procedural meeting tonight, at least in terms of the pending business, before we get to the one item of new business. And so with that being said, this is a public hearing. You've all showed up tonight. You're all welcome within reasonable limits to provide comment on the study, although again, it's kind of irrelevant. We're not considering that. I think your breath is better spent and saved at the next city council meeting. But particularly if you're here to provide any comment on the zoning regulations, that again, we're not hearing tonight, we're hearing at the next meeting, you're more than welcome to, within limits. But what we're doing tonight is continuing till the next meeting this commission's consideration of the new zoning regulations and the application of those, if those are approved, to certain buildings in the downtown district. If any of that makes any sense to you all. I know there's a lot of words, but so with that, we can I have a motion to open the public hearing that we are continuing from the last meetings. So it's just to open those public hearings.
Before we open, can I ask you a question,
Yes,
please?
please.
Staff is recommending that we reopen and continue to the next meeting. But would it also be appropriate for us to discuss whether we agree with the staff recommendation or if we want to close the public hearing until such time as the city council has provided some future further direction, and then address this separately and differently again
Yeah, but
later?
didn't they make a motion that everything hinged on the Kirchhoff Road? So,
Right.
you know, if nothing goes on with Kirchhoff Road, the rest of these plans may be mute.
Really what we're doing is deferring the consideration of these next steps until a later date, depending on what happens with
Well, I'm
the
just trying to
study.
see if
So
they're trying to, if the staff's thought is that they don't wanna renotice this and they just wanna keep it open, but if a change comes through and it's a significant change, wouldn't it have to be renoticed anyways?
You are correct that if there was a major change, it would certainly need to come back to you for discussion. The notice is part of the reason why this is our recommendation, especially because there is mailing notification that needed to go out to properties affected for these. So that is part of the consideration for the recommendation. But if there were major changes to either of the items before you, those potentially would come back.
And that's what I like about closing this and not just keeping it open, is that the staff would have to then renotice everyone, and that would, again, maybe bring more neighbors and residents out rather than, and giving people more of an opportunity to participate.
Well, that would happen if there was a major change in the study, right? So I think all we're doing now is just kind of preserving status quo, get us to the next step, and things could change in terms of notices required or renoticing this.
Absolutely, and I would say you certainly are able to discuss now if, as part of this motion, if you would, who's in favor and who's not of opening the public hearings to continue. So from that perspective, that's something that you certainly could do. But again, the staff's recommendation is not going to change as far as the wish to
Sure.
Open the public hearings to continue to the next meeting. And as the chair stated, this is simply just waiting for further direction from City Council to decide whether or not these items end up being moot or if there does need to be major changes that are brought back. So.
It's a good point, though, Commissioner Sheehan. And any other thoughts from the commission on their preferences?
A question though, if we continue this, would it mean we can open up at any time and not give notice to the public?
Notice was already given, so that's the reason for the date certain of the continuance. So as long as when it is continued today, it is noted, it is continued to a certain date, that is allowed. But continuing it just indefinitely is not allowed, continuing it to a date certain. So the next meeting, the next meeting date, which I believe we have in here is May 6th, is allowed. I think it would not be staff's preference to continue. I think we're hoping that, city council makes a decision one way or the other, and that we're able to, put this to bed.
You
But-
mentioned earlier, the city council is gonna wait 2 months for another study, correct? So this could be, what, August, September before you see this again?
I can't speculate on how long, but that is the continuance that they requested at city council, was 2 months to request a traffic study. I do know that there will potentially be a
So-
Really?
committee of the whole meeting to discuss details of that. So
Then I wouldn't want these guys to come back every month, to do this, and we just kinda keep saying, oh, it's gonna be the following month to the following month. I would say, close it, and then we can re-give notice.
So will, maybe dumb question, but will notice be given of, if we continued this to the date certain for the next meeting, would notice be given of that continuous or continuance?
the notice that was already given is all that will be given, other than,
Okay.
a posted
Sure.
agenda stating that it's a
Okay.
continue item from a previous meeting.
So in other words, no.
No new notice is going to be
Right.
given, that is
If
correct.
we close it, then yes, there will be notice, correct?
If it is brought forward, yes.
Right.
Interesting. No, that, I think,
That
does make a
changes.
bit of difference for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, what do you guys?
I think you gotta close it. If they're
Yeah.
if they're gonna have a traffic study till August, I think you gotta close it and then reopen it
Yeah.
if and when the city makes a decision. To just leaving
Yeah.
it hanging out there, and so the next meeting we can continue again, and the next meeting, so you'd have to continue it all the way to August, so that's like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Right. And then some of the people that wanna talk about it are just, they come to the meeting and, okay, it's gonna get postponed, it's gonna get postponed. It's not fair to them.
Well, and it's also not fair to the people who would be getting a new zoning designation
Right.
either. I mean, we're potentially recommending that zoning be changed on property, and I really think that it's important for people to be noticed about that continually through the changes that may or may not happen.
Yeah, I'm convinced. I think that makes sense. I think it's wise to proceed cautiously here. We're still somewhat at the beginning stages of this. I think we just want to make sure everyone's interests are protected and voices are heard. And to me, that sounds like the best way to do it is to go ahead and close it unless staff, any other
No, I think
thoughts
that's
or
certainly,
considerations?
that's certainly your prerogative. I would maybe ask for a 5-minute recess to discuss this with, staff, just to see if it's the correct thing to do is to open it and close it, or if it's to table the items, just to bring them back. I just want to make sure that we're following
Sure.
the proper procedure on that. So if you wouldn't mind, let me reach out to Director Cole, and just see what the proper steps are, so that we're not, doing something that we have to come back and do again next meeting anyway,
Well,
as far
and
as.
then, just so I'm clear, I would be in favor of opening the hearing, letting anybody who wanted to speak, and then closing it.
But that's what we're proposing, only with the
No, not
effort to.
continuing it, closing it.
Closing this
Well,
session.
I don't know that it would be proper to open a public hearing only to close it and basically saying, we don't want to hear.
I don't know,
You basically have to table the item, I guess.
To
is what I'm
me,
saying.
I like the idea of everyone getting notice of whatever the relevant date is going forward, whether it's the next month or 2 months. All this is dependent on city council. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for people to speak into these issues now when the commission's not prepared to hear from the staff. I'm not prepared. I don't have all my materials here. I think, again, appreciate everyone coming out, but we'll try to make this, get you out of here literally in a matter of minutes, hopefully, and then I would ask you to come back when it really matters, when we are considering.
That's not fair to us, sir.
Sir, you're not allowed to speak right now, okay? We are trying to preserve everyone's rights to speak when relevant on these matters, and we're trying to do what we can to protect everybody's interest. May not be apparent with all this procedure up here, but that's what we're doing. So I think it's kind of wasted air, if you will, to have people speak tonight if we're closing it and we're re-noticing it several months from now.
So just plain English for me, because so basically we're a body for the public as well that provides a recommendation to City Council. Our vote doesn't ultimately matter, right? Well, it matters, but we provide a recommendation. So last meeting we provided a recommendation on 3 of the 4 items to approve, 1 to decline. City Council is now taking a longer period of time to deliberate what's going to happen. So what we're saying here is if we open the public hearing and they change their mind, something happens, then the comments won't matter as much. So we want to wait for the comments until.
Could be premature, things could change.
Okay.
We can't act on anything you all say tonight. We're not gonna vote on it. It's really just gonna be kinda out there. So I think it makes way more sense to just defer this. Sorry you had to come out tonight, but again, there's procedures to be followed and this is somewhat complicated.
Well, and by closing it, we're allowing you to get proper notice. Otherwise, you won't get notice if the subject
Which I
comes
think
up
is the
again.
most important thing.
If I might, Mr. Chair.
Please.
I would also point out, the folks that did show up tonight, there is a public comment item here further down in the agenda, which they're perfectly capable and able to make comment regarding any topic that might come before this board. So if we did decide to table these items without discussion currently, we could do it after the new item and then allow folks to speak, just to clarify that.
Well, are we
Sure.
tabling it, or? are
Well,
we
that's
going
what I
to
would,
close
I would
it?
He needs
request
a
a
recess,
5-minute
yeah.
recess just to confer with my boss and see
Hmm.
if that's, I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing, because it sounds to me like what I'm hearing is you would prefer that we basically end the items and you have us bring them back as new items in the future, and that would be tabling, not opening a public hearing only to close it and take no action.
Yeah, the only reason I think we need to table it is because if we go ahead and hear comments or somebody speaks and whatever, and city decides not to proceed, it's moot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
It makes no sense.
Or some of us aren't here,
Right.
you know what I mean, then it's,
Yeah.
we
And
miss it
then
once, so.
if they make comments, we can't respond anyways. I mean, we have no information, we don't know what the city's gonna do. And if they're gonna go all the way to August, we don't wanna continue every month. I mean, that's what, 4 or 5 months away till August before they're gonna make a decision based upon the traffic study, correct?
Yeah, I couldn't estimate how quickly the traffic study could be done, or.
But I'm just
council
saying,
could
the
make, but,
the estimated time is August, correct?
The requested delay was 2 months, so what is that?
Okay, so 2 months, so
June.
that's
May.
May. April, May, June, maybe June,
Yeah.
possibly. So, just to have them keep coming back after a meeting when we can't do anything anyways, makes no sense. And if they decide not to proceed with the road diet and not proceed with the plan, it's moved anyways. And all the comments are just made for nothing. If they want to speak, they should go to city council when they talk about the road diet, because we can't do anything about that. That's in city council's hand,
Right.
not on ours. All this is talking about, or potentially, is the text amendment and the zoning amendment, and if they table the plan, those amendments go away. So I
Yeah.
say we close, whatever the best way to do this, I don't think we should discuss it at all, unless they want to make comments.
There'll be opportunity at the end of the meeting for kind of open comment on anything you want. Sir, I'm just to keep this orderly and moving toward the end of the meeting. It's not going to be long. Guys, 5 minutes?
Yeah, if that's okay,
Okay,
5 minutes?
sure.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheehan, for
Yeah, bring it
asking
up.
that question. Very, very helpful. For what?
Stuff,
yeah. Okay.
It was 80-some degrees last week. We went to 40, then went right back.
And
Started
then
snowing
snow.
suddenly. Well, I walked out the door today. I'm like, I got a sweater on and I got the jacket on. I'm taking the jacket off. This is way too warm. It is nice to be able to come to this. It's right there. Sunny.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, step to the mic, please.
I'm a little bit confused.
Well, hold on. Let's wait till staff gets back.
No, this is for you guys, not for staff right
All right,
now.
this is just
I'm
a
just a little
formal question.
confused. If you're the zoning board, right? Are
Planning
you
commission,
gonna rec-
planning commission, planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning commission, so your job is to approve or disapprove zoning?
No, our job is to
Recommendations.
make recommendations. We don't do anything. We don't
Well,
approve
make
anything.
recommendations
Correct.
for zoning.
Correct.
So are you thinking that you're gonna rechange the zoning for Kirchhoff Road?
We don't know.
Yeah, everything hinges on.
Everything hinges on what the city council does
For the diet.
for the
shortening
diet.
The road.
If they turn that down, the whole plan goes away.
Okay, so
There's
your zoning doesn't precede their,
Nope. We can't discuss this because it all depends on their approving the plan.
And as was mentioned in the
Part of
last-
which was the zoning.
Yeah, well, the last meeting was, everything hinges on the diet of Kirchhoff. If we don't shrink the road, the rest of it's kind of mute.
right. So there is a recommendation that you make to the board.
Not tonight.
If they approve the road diet and it continues, yes. But if they turn it down, then the plan goes away.
Yeah, the last meeting, we turned down the recommendation
Right.
for the diet. Now, they
Right.
can overrule us, they're well within their power, but, they decided to table it until they got a study it for Kirchhoff Road.
Okay.
Guess he has an answer.
Hopefully answer your question.
Why do we have a committee then, if they don't listen to you?
They
That's-
do.
They
They
do.
do.
We either recommend it or we deny it. And then they can make their own decision. We're just a recommending board. We don't
Yeah,
approve
your
anything.
elected officials should be the ones that ultimately
we're not
vote on.
elected.
We're not elected. So
We're not
So-
elected, we're volunteers.
Yeah.
We're volunteers. Our job at these hearings is to create a record for the city council. There's an application packet with lots of detail. We hear testimony. People are under oath. We look at documents. And so we create a record for the city council, and as part of that, we try to vote on whatever the matter is before us that we're being asked to vote on, but it's typically just a recommendation. City council, they're almost like an appellate court. We're like the trial court, where they would be able to review everything we did and agree with how we came out, or disagree, or send it back to us for further deliberation. So because they're the elected officials, kind of the buck stops with them. We're, again, as everyone said, just volunteers to kind of get the process started, but
Well, whether you're paid or volunteers, I appreciate all of your service here. Thank you very much for being here. But I think we need to be clear. We don't want to put the horse before the cart.
Correct. And that's why we
Exactly.
can't discuss
Right.
these items.
And one of the alder persons, at the last council meeting, although this was not brought up, they did not make a motion for a dollar amount on the study. They said it would be coming out of city funds. So if it came back that it's gonna cost us $100,000, it's very likely that the council will say, that's too much for us to spend, and not do a study at all. So where does that leave all of us then?
Well, they're not doing a study, they're doing a traffic study, and that's already probably been paid for.
Yes,
And
but
that's probably
no,
been paid for.
it's not. It's gonna come out of city funds,
Out of
not
city
the
funds.
grant.
Right, it's gonna come out of city funds, which they already
And
have.
if it's gonna cost too much, they're not gonna do it.
Don't know if
They
they are or
did,
not.
well, that was the comment that we heard from one of the aldermen.
Well, how much do they spend on this study to begin with, out of curiosity?
They don't have an amount. That was the.
No, on the
For the
existing
Kirchhoff
stuff.
Road study, I would have to review the
Give me a
final
ballpark.
map.
20,000?
I just don't recall the dollar amount. I believe it was in the vicinity of 60-ish.
60,000.
That's very typical for these types of studies with inclusive of community engagement processes.
Yeah,
and
you
stuff.
saw the ones up on Bears and Arlington
Yeah.
Heights. And those were up for months.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I will add was largely, some of it was appropriated from the TIF fund, and I believe there was a grant involved as well. So,
The grant, though, will cover a traffic study only if we take the grant. It's part of the grant. So,
that would be correct.
right, so they're not using the grant to do the traffic study. They're doing it on the city's dollars.
Man, we can't speak on behalf of city council. So
No,
I
I understand that, but I'm just,
I will just add, I'm sorry, I'm relatively new to this. I don't actually have much to discuss in terms of the finances. I don't deal with it just personally. I'm happy to, put you in contact with my director who
Right.
would be happy to answer these questions. I just don't want to mislead you.
no.
April 8th, the next city council meeting.
Okay,
Please show up and ask all the questions you want.
okay.
Yeah. This is not a TIF situation, is it? I didn't think it would be.
Do they ever listen to your recommendations?
Yes, they do, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, they didn't move forward overruling us. That's, they didn't overrule us and just,
That's me.
not me.
Tornado.
No, I don't think
I
so.
mean, they could have at the last council meeting overruled us and just voted for it to go forward, but they didn't.
I would be rather be a fish.
So this whole
Doubt, delegation, or final action, deliberation.
I just don't like leaving this open and then taking
No.
a date out of the air and say, yeah, we better do it now.
Well,
We left it on some.
Sir, do you want to come up? This is not,
You can speak now.
on the record, it's not part of any public hearing, but if you want to,
There's just some things that have
just
changed.
to be fair,
Did you stop the recording?
There's just
out
some
of
things that
curiosity?
have changed since the last time we had this meeting. I was to the city council meeting, and they had said that they're gonna put it on hold, you were there too, and, for 2 months, if I'm remembering right. And, there's just some other things that I had talked to. I talked to one of the business owners, and he went and talked to a lot of the businesses. And just so you guys know, they were all against it except for one. So I know you guys already voted it. Now you're telling me that you guys voted it down. The road.
the road diet.
The Kirchhoff Road.
We approved
Okay.
everything else.
Everything else
And
we
you
agreed on.
okayed the
balance of it.
the balance of it,
Yep.
which is good. But yeah, I just want to know to let you know that. And he went around, talked to a lot of residents, and they're against it. So I don't know how or why the city. And I talked to somebody that you know very well, and he's against it also. I won't tell you who, but you know. But anyhow, yeah, that's all I want to let you know is that he went out and talked to the business owners. And our third ward alderman, Kevin, said he talked to some business owners, and they said if they knew or even thought that Kirchhoff Road was going to be down to one lane in each direction, they would have not located their business here. So, I mean, I'm just giving you facts. I mean, you guys are just a recommendation
we were-
committee.
Yeah.
You're volunteers,
We're
and
volunteers, so
we appreciate, and I
Thank you.
appreciate,
Thank you
the
for
time
coming,
and
sir.
effort that you guys spend. But I just thought you guys should let know and that, there is more information, so that's basically what I wanted to refer.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank
that-
you
that's-
for your engagement.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
And I appreciate you giving us time because
Absolutely.
it was on the agenda. And
Yeah,
one of my
it's a little
neighbors
confusing.
talked to, and they said that it was it's on the agenda and it was for open, so.
Yeah.
That's why I was really stressing that we should be, whoever wants to talk should be given their 5 minutes or whatever.
Sure.
So, okay, I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, give us just a few more minutes. We're working on with technology to get Mr. Cole on the phone here.
Okay.
With Power Technology, so just give us a couple more minutes and
Take
we
your
should be
time.
back. All right.
Yep.
Smoke them if you have them.
Are we still speaking off the record?
Sure. Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, why not? Well, we've got some free time.
Well, no, off the record. I mean, I think a lot of the reason people are here tonight is at the last meeting on the 4th, it seemed like you were in agreement with the first 3 parts of the thing, and then everybody got going around in circles on the Kirchhoff Road diet, and I thought I was under the belief that we were coming back tonight to continue the discussion on the Kirchhoff Road diet that
No.
just got spun in a circle.
No, that went
No.
to city council. That was out
But
of our
like it
hands.
says, when we left here at 11 o'clock, it gave us the impression you were going to continue trying to sort that out on
Nope.
what you were going to recommend.
No.
And I think that's why everybody is here tonight.
Oh.
We recommended the 3 yeses, and we tabled the third, the fourth one, and that was our recommendation.
And like it says, when
to
you said-
city council.
Yeah. Well, when you
And-
said you were tabling it, I think we all assumed that you were going to
Well-
open that back up and trying to
No.
come up with a determination of what you were going to present to the council at that
No,
time.
that went to the council at that point in time, and they are now discussing it. We are out of
Like I
that.
said, that's why
Right.
at least this is off the record, because I
Right.
think that it was a little unclear on the 4th.
It was a little
and that's
confusing.
why
There was
everybody's here
there's
tonight.
3 items in the last meeting that we were
Yeah.
trying to discuss. The first was the road diet, which took till 11.
Yeah,
Then the other 2 were the zoning district and creating a town center zoning district. That's a separate thing, and that's why they
Right.
left it open. And I think it was procedural because we opened up the meeting
Right.
for all 3 items at
Yes,
once.
that's what.
So
Yeah.
legally, you have to keep the meeting open for those other
Right.
2 items, but we didn't get to discuss
yeah,
it
and
now.
like
We're
I said,
waiting.
I think that's why everybody,
Sure.
we even went to the council meeting, last week, and were under the, it was kind of confusing, because
Yeah.
how could they bring it in for a second reading if it didn't seem like it was approved here? There was a lot of confusion with this
Mhm.
one so far.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The Roberts Rules
That's
of Order and
why-
all that is a little bit.
Understood.
Yeah.
Unrelated.
As I said,
Yeah.
I understand.
For the next time.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Glenn, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear at least a few folks at the dais. I hope everyone can hear me. This is Glenn Cole. I'm the Assistant City Manager of the Community Development Director for the city. For those who don't know me, I've been brought up to speed a bit by Deputy Director Alina, and I'm still, I confess, trying to ascertain exactly what is going on, I suppose. If Mr. Chairman, if you could bring me up to speed.
Sure. The question, and good to talk to you tonight, Mr. Cole. The question's really just a procedural one regarding these pending 2 items of pending business left over from last meeting, and that's whether we should continue the public hearing until the next zoning meeting, knowing that, as we understand it, City Council is still reviewing the first item before them, the road diet, and considering ordering a traffic study, and so the whole items of the corridor study is still up for grabs, and so we're not actually sure when we're going to hear on the merits the pending items regarding the zoning changes. And so a question was raised, which I think was a great observation by Commissioner Sheehan, that, well, if we don't know exactly when the hearings are going to be on these items that are continued to be continued tonight, are we better off just closing those two items and then having staff renotice the public for those two items when they become relevant to be heard on the merits by us, as opposed to just kicking those two items down the road and just continuing for up to 2 months, if not more, these matters, which would mean, as we understand it, then the public would not necessarily get fresh notice of that date. They would just kind of have to follow the breadcrumbs, if you will, and keep track of what's happening through other means. And we have a number of people here tonight that may be interested in this question, that obviously want to speak into these issues, and we're not prepared to do so on the merits tonight. We just want to make sure we're preserving people's interests in handling this properly. If any of that makes sense.
It does, Mr.
A
Chairman.
lot of words there.
No, I follow along. And again, I should mention too, backing up, I apologize, I'm not there with you in person. I'm here coming back from Springfield, where we had some business with the members of the General Assembly representing the city. So that's conflicting city business is what's keeping me away. So I would answer your question in two ways, Mr. Chairman, I would speak to the situation that sounds like we're in. So first, the city council is waiting on one component of the traffic, or of the study, which is recommendation 3 of the transportation components of the study, which is the road reconfiguration, or the road diet, as folks are calling it. You'll recall that the Plan Commission recommended adoption of the other parts. One of those parts is zoning, which is the two matters before you tonight. The council didn't take a vote, but of course they in the comments I heard, there was a lot of folks, a lot of hesitation around the road diet and wanting more data and more information, but we didn't hear adverse comments to the zoning parts of this either. Those items on your agenda, I'd say too, for the information of folks in the public, that those are separate from the road diet. They don't implement the road diet. They entirely govern what private people do to the private property. The city is a property owner too, so it would govern our own couple spots, but it's a different animal than just do you do the road diet, do you not? We're still gathering up options for the city council based on their discussion at the meeting last Tuesday. I don't know if the city council will choose to, continue the whole study for the traffic study to come back. It looks like that may take longer than 2 months. I don't know if they'll, there at least one member of the city council talked about trying to adopt the rest and, wait on the traffic study part. There are a lot of different ways that this can go, as directed by the city council. We're only asking for a continuance in May, during which time we're going to go back to the city council, talk about the RFP and the process for getting this traffic study they requested, and I expect how to manage some of these other moving parts, some of these other components of the plan, and I think the plan of these matters before the Plan Commission, and go from there. That's part of why we put on the agenda and the staff memorandum you have there that we have no staff presentation tonight. I'm not even there tonight to speak to it. If folks would like to come and make comments on the record, they of course can. They have the right to do that. I know you have other business on your agenda tonight too, which is really the thrust of the meeting is for that business, but folks have the right to appear and to talk. So that's where we're at as far as those matters versus the planning study. Is we're asking for circumstances may change in that 1 month. Generally, procedurally, right? I mean, any applicant, we notice the hearing, we conduct the hearing. Generally, an applicant would have the right to request and receive a continuance. certainly an applicant has the right, if the plan commission is not interested in the continuance, to receive a vote. You know, to have a recommendation carry on to the city council. I think that would be unfortunate in this case. You know, after the public hearing closes, you know, the opportunities for the public to testify and to present evidence are much more limited after the plan commission has closed the public hearing. If that's what the plan commission would like to do, I suppose you can do that. But you know, this is really an opportunity for folks to do fact finding, and our goal in keeping this open is to allow that process to continue until its conclusion.
But, yeah, I get all that. I think, again, we're just talking procedurally and what's in the interest of the public in particular, in being able to show up and participate meaningfully when we do hear this on the merits. And if it just continued till the next meeting, no one's really going to know, and we could have another 20 people a month from now, and we're just kicking it again potentially for this traffic study to complete, and then people kind of lose the thread of when we're actually going to hear this. And so the question is, would it be better? We get it. We're not deciding anything on the merits, and really, you know, we're not discussing anything tonight regarding that. It's just a matter of, are we better off? Let's just close the public hearing and effectively start over, which all that really means is, you know, once it becomes clear that city council's cleared kind of issue number one, the threshold of the study and the road diet, then we can proceed on the merits to the zoning matters, and then those would be noticed up for a date certain, and then we'd get a room full of people we'd be more than happy to hear from on those. To us, on the commission, that seems to be the just clearer way to go than to kind of keep stringing this public hearing along, not knowing actually when it's really going to happen, and people not necessarily knowing when it's going to happen in a clear way, if we understand this, how this is going to work. So it's really just, should we continue the matters 2 and 3, or should we continue the public hearings in matters 2 and 3, or should we close matters 2 and 3 for now and you guys renotice it for the next relevant meeting? That seems to make the more sense, the latter approach.
Yeah, and I would, I mean, again, two answers there. The first, you know, we're not talking about continuing it indefinitely. Right now, we are talking about continuing it for 1 month. And, you know, that this is a conversation that can happen again if there is indeed a request to continue it at the next meeting. I mean, in that time, the city council will discuss this again, and if there's a desire to you know, conduct the full traffic study and not take zoning action and come back, I expect we probably will close it and start over. Again, we've gone through this process. We've gone above and beyond the minimum required notice to give folks a lot of information. This is happening. That's something that'll continue. You know, the other part is just setting aside the circumstances of this. In no case for any applicant would I suggest that it is proper for the plan commission to essentially refuse to conduct a hearing. Again, the city is the applicant in this case. I represent the applicant. We're requesting that this be continued. I think it would be extraordinarily unusual to deny that request, but if the plan commission does not want to grant that request, we would request that you know, make your vote on the merits for the evidence you have without people there to present the merits, and the city council can dispose of that how they will.
So are you saying then if we decide we want to close this public hearing in these matters, we would have to really, what we should be doing is voting on the merits on those 2 matters?
That's correct.
Really? Well, we can't do that. If that's what you're telling me is the procedure, then we don't really have an option, if I'm hearing you right, Mr. Cole, to close the public hearing, and all we can do is continue it. Right?
I'm not trying to paint anyone into a corner. I should say, of course, I'm not the city attorney. We don't have the city attorney present because we expected this to be a routine meeting.
So did I.
Certainly, from my experience as a planner, if you were to refuse the hearing and refuse to make a recommendation to any other applicant, you would be denying them due process. I would say the city's entitled to the same protection.
Hey, Glenn, question for you.
Yeah.
Can we put a date on when we can revisit this? So it's not sitting out there and we don't have people coming in here every week and we just keep pushing it the can down the road. So can we say we're gonna table this for 2 months from now and revisit it at that point versus having them come every month and find out we're not ready for it, we're not ready for it. So give it a date.
May 6th.
Yeah, so go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
I would just say May 6th, right, is the most conservative, just in case the city is ready to go and everything's kind of ripe for discussion. If not, then it gets kicked to the next meeting.
But, Mr. Chairman, I think what the other commissioner is saying is that maybe we just push it to June to give a buffer,
Yeah,
right?
I understand.
And
Say June 6th, if it's, we won't.
so they don't
hear
come in
anything
May
on
and then
that
we have to
until
push
June
it back.
6th.
Yeah.
Would that be helpful to the city or no?
If June's the date, I suppose that's better than some of the alternatives here. Again, I think by that May date, we'll have a lot more clarity around what's happening. I think, as everyone hearing my voice probably saw or is aware of, I mean, there was a lot of discussion at the city council meeting. There's a lot of information we need to bring back to them as they're charting a path through this. I think we'll know more by that May 6th date, and that's, again, I think it's May 6th. I don't have my packet here with me to review.
May 6th.
Whatever that next regular meeting of the PZC is, I think we'll have a lot more clarity than we do now as far as the path this will take, and we'll continue to tell people that. Again, our goal is not to play hide the ball, and I certainly don't think we have at any point in this process.
Hey, just maybe 2 clarification questions. So one is there a downside to closing the hearing and then reopening the hearing on these items? Is that not possible, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so once, generally speaking, right, once the hearing is closed, you should make your recommendation and the city council acts on that recommendation, right? Again, I'm not an attorney, don't know the statute superbly well. I think statute just requires that a hearing be conducted in this case. I don't even know if it requires the planning commission to make a recommendation. I think that's a local requirement. But to go back to your question, I mean, once the hearing is, closed, that's really supposed to be the record. That's supposed to be the basis of, the decisions going forward. By keeping a hearing open and continuing it, the date's certain. That's how you give the public constructive notice of when they can come and continue to participate until you think you fully explored the issues at hand.
Okay, and
I hope that answers your question.
It does. I think the key problem we're trying to solve for is, one, we don't want the public to keep showing up, providing to provide their input, and we're not ready for it. And so that's number one. And number two is I think we want to provide appropriate notice to the public when it is time to come in and share their recommendations. So how would you solve for those problems? Is there an informal notice we can provide, or what do you suggest?
Yeah, so the first item is simple. I mean, I apologize if we misled anyone, but we tried to make it, clear on the agenda and the packet that we were not asking for or recommending moving forward with anything of substance tonight. So I hope people didn't feel misled into thinking they had to be here or something was going to happen without them. We tried to communicate that because we know people's time is valuable. So that's the first part. I hope that's pretty simple. The second part, again, a month is not that far away. If the Plan Commission was setting this 6 months out and hoping people would remember, that would be a different story. But this is your next regular meeting. It was continued from your last meeting, really, for the convenience of the public, for the convenience of the commission. We didn't want to keep going at 11 o'clock or midnight or whatever, and that's understandable. One continuance for the convenience of the applicant is very normal in these types of proceedings, when someone has questions or just when things circumstances are changing, as they have in this particular case. I think we can be a lot more concrete again at that next meeting on where we're going. It may be that doesn't even appear at the next meeting. We just close it and we wait, and we'll tell the public if we do that. They'll know what's happening. But just without more direction from the city council in response to the things we're bringing them back, it's very hard for me to answer some of these questions.
So what you're saying is we should open up the meeting and then continue it for those two items?
Yeah.
Till May 6th.
Yeah.
Till May
So
6th.
Till the May 6th.
Yeah, so those hearings, if members of the public are present and want to speak to those, they have the right to. You should let them enter their testimony on the record regarding these zoning matters.
Okay.
And then after everyone's had a chance to do so, you should continue it on to that next regular meeting date of May 6th.
Okay.
And then have more information, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
I'd be all in favor of doing that. I think that makes the most sense with these clarifications. Everyone's rights are being preserved. It's just incumbent on the public to just kind of keep track and look at the notices. I think the city's going to be as clear as they can be in the next meeting. Is this going to happen or not on the merits, or is this going to be another continuance? And then you all are free to show up regardless. But just pay attention if you would. And for everyone's benefit here in the room, including mine, when notice is given, say of the next meeting, where is that given and how?
Sure.
Just for a quick refresher.
Yeah, so in the case of this continuance, the regular meeting date is the first Tuesday of the month, no later than the Friday before, sometimes earlier if we can help it, but always by the day of the Friday before. We put it on the city website, and there's a paper copy posted, at the bulletin boards in City Hall as well. In the case of a new hearing, we publish notice in the newspaper. I'm sure everyone very carefully reads the legal sections of the Daily Herald, but that's also preserved, for posterity. We put a sign out front. But the most notable part is when it involves a specific geographic area, as the rezoning component of this does. The third item the third item of the three, I think the second on your agenda, we send notice to everyone within the affected area and within, again, you'll forgive me, either 250 or 300 feet in a surrounding area. I think everyone in that notice area would have received notice from us around the middle of February on that topic, and of course many people took notice and appeared at your meeting in March, and it sounds like have appeared again here in April.
Well, people are reading the notices, so they're not useless acts. But I think I'm ready to move forward and ask for a motion to open the hearings in pending matters 2 and 3 from the last meeting.
And all we're going to
Can I
hear
have-
is comments on those two items, not the road diet.
Right. So I think, with that being said, can I have a motion to open the pending items 2 and 3 from last
Sure.
meeting?
I'll take my best shot.
Well, is Mr. Cole still there?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Glenn?
Is he still?
Gotta
Oh,
get
I'm sorry, Mr. Cole, are you still
Wrong
there?
one.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm still here. Is that Commissioner Sheehan?
It is. Question
Good
for
evening.
you, would it be appropriate or would it be considerate for us to ask for if we consider continuing this hearing, to ask staff to renotice everyone up and down Quentin Road that would be rezoned with this new designation TC Town Center zoning.
You know, there's a pretty significant time and cost to that. I mean, that's on the order of about, again, I'm going from memory here, 800 letters. It takes our staff quite a bit of time to put that out. We'd sure like to avoid it if we can.
That would be pretty extraordinary for you to do under these circumstances, just the continuance of a meeting. Kind of that targeted notice.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're all in favor of providing additional notice, and certainly we can use some of our, but quite honestly, less labor-intensive ability and channels to do that. And again, I think this issue is salient enough, people will stay attuned to it. But except in the case of a defective notice, I don't know when I have ever redone something on this scale like that in the past. Again, we're not trying to hide the ball, but I think again, a continuance of 1 month is very routine and reasonable in cases like this.
Got it. I think I'm fine personally with the standard notice of the continuance and not any kind of tailored renoticing. I don't know, any other strong feelings from the commission aligned with Commissioner Sheehan, or no?
Well, I think people are aware of this. I think they're knowledgeable of this, and I think if we continue it, I think though if we can, the only way is if City Hall gives staff enough meeting or enough information to continue it. Otherwise, they need to post on the website that those items are not being discussed again.
Right, which they will.
Right.
So
My only concern is
notice.
that city council might not be ready by May 6th, so that was just my thought, is if we just push it 1 month, it gives the public sufficient time, us sufficient time. Is there a downside to that, or?
If I could, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, hearing this discussion, I think we'll ask the city council for pretty specific direction on that topic at one of their April meetings, and then I'm sure we will have clear direction from them by that May meeting.
Clear direction on the merits of the study? Or whether it's going to be...
merits of the zoning items, yeah.
Right, whether those are ready to proceed, which is conditional on city council approving or voting on the merits on the study, correct?
The final approval, so strictly speaking, right, you can do the plan without the zoning, you can do the zoning without the plan. Our recommendation would be to adopt those, in sequence when they're adopted.
Yep.
But we wouldn't say that you'd even have to wait on the plan part of this to do action on the zoning part. We're asking for these few weeks just because, depending on the timing and the direction of the city council, if the road diet were not part of the ultimate plan, some of our zoning recommendations may change to reflect that. And that's just what we need to get more direction on.
Yeah, I'd rather not give them a big quote-unquote a blank check. If we approve the next 2 or 3 items and the road diet goes through, then they've got a carte blanche. If it doesn't go through, then they can still do, you know what I mean? I'd almost rather wait until the June meeting, after giving the city council ample amount of time to kind of figure out what they want to do and move at that point, versus approve something and then at the next meeting they just rubber stamp the road improvement and go.
We're not approving anything, we're just continuing.
Get to that when we get to it. I think the most conservative thing, the baby steps, if you will, is let's just continue this to the next PZC next month, and we'll maybe continue it again, maybe not. A lot could happen. So that would be my recommendation. I think we've kind of beat this one pretty good. Unless anyone has any other material questions of staff or comments, I think I'd like to move to ask for a motion
Well, first
to
we open it up.
open those
Motion.
two pending matters.
Yep. I'll make a motion. I move that we resume the public hearing regarding agenda number 2, text amendment, creating a new TC district, town center zoning district, and agenda number 3, map amendment, reclassifying property to the new TC zoning district.
Motion by Commissioner Gherkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Modi. By voice vote, all in favor, please state yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, please state no. With 6 yeses and 0 nos, the motion to resume the public hearing is granted. Now, to be faithful to the process, and since we have several number of people here tonight, again, we're allowing people to come up to the microphone and under oath provide any comments, questions, perspectives on these items, on the zoning changes that we're ultimately going to vote on, but we're not voting on those tonight. Those are being continued, but since you all were diligent and decided and took the time to come, we're giving people an opportunity to speak on the zoning changes that are going to be before this commission hopefully next month. If not, again, you're free to speak and attend to the city council meeting or any upcoming zoning meeting.
Come on up.
Please come on up. Ma'am?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could, before
Yes.
the first commenter starts, I'm going to leave the call now if I could. We've got about another hour and a half left here at Rolling Meadows. So sorry I can't be there in person. I appreciate everyone participating this evening.
Sure. Thanks.
And I hope to see folks.
Thanks for your help,
Thank you.
Glenn.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. So please state your name and spell your first and last name and provide your address.
Sure. It's Lynn Griesmeyer, Lynn Griesmeyer, 3609 Wilkie Road.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Take it away.
Okay, so regarding the town center issue, has ever a consideration been made to have a bridge going across from the south side of Kirchhoff Road to the north side of Kirchhoff Road that would be deemed as a walking and or bike bridge to allow safety and convenience for the residents that are interested in that, able to cross the road safely. And then also there is a notice or an article in this paper that speaks about or a summary of the council meeting that was held last 2 weeks ago. And that would be my main thing, other than the church that I attend received a letter about these being considered to be part of the overall study, and was just wondering what would be done with churches and if you can have any input on that at all. Are you able to do that? Or is this just something I have to bring to your attention?
As far as churches
Well-
go, there's nothing going to be done to them unless they close.
Yeah, there's no zoning changes, there's no any kind of action taken against any existing church in the corridor.
Hold up. There is a change in the zoning.
Just to clarify,
Sure.
yeah.
So this is the problem, and we're not kind of hearing that on the substance tonight. We're getting into the weeds, but go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Savage.
To speak kind of loosely on it, so the new zoning district would encompass the church properties that have the front Kirchhoff Road. Essentially, they're currently zoned for residential, and so essentially, if they wanted to redevelop, in the worst case scenario, if a church does fold, and they wanted to redevelop, they have very few development opportunities there. Obviously, there's no pressure on churches to redevelop. This would allow them, in the case that they do redevelop, much more flexibility in how they do that. So potentially that could be quite beneficial for churches, but ultimately there's, the city views the churches in town as very important features in the community and hopes they stay around for as long as they can. So yeah, this would essentially allow them more flexibility in the event that they chose to stop operating.
So meaning the existing churches are grandfathered, legally non-conforming, no one's getting kicked out, it's only if they close down, then the zoning is changed to be more conducive to kind of the downtown area from the residential zoning. But nobody's kicking out any existing churches.
So in other words, they'll be zoned commercial or retail, correct, if they do fold?
They'd be zoned within the TC district, which
Yeah.
encompasses both commercial and residential uses. Again, much more flexibility in design and use in that case. If they were zoned to be commercial under the current zoning district, they would, either be able to continue as a special use in non-conformity, or they would, if they wanted to redevelop, they'd have to take on the kind of form that, for instance, you see along Kirchhoff Road, which would be, a lot of parking lot in front and single level commercial. Yeah.
That would hold true for the residential area as well, correct? Because if I remember right, the condominiums are on that TC, correct?
Certainly. So, you don't have to have commercial bottom floor. The condominiums behind, on the south side of Kirchhoff Road, would be functionally conforming to TC zoning regulations. As they stand, there'd be really no change for any of those properties. I also don't think there's particularly any development pressure on those properties. They're essentially just being contained within the area because those properties front Kirchhoff Road in some way.
So let's say the church fails, not saying it will, wouldn't the new prospective buyers have to come in front of us anyway to get that change to commercial or retail? Or housing, as you say?
Not within the TC zoning district. They'd be able to do a lot of that by right.
So
unless they wanted variations or were planning a planned development or something like that.
So you're saying if somebody bought the church and they decided to do residential, they can?
They could, yes.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So either way.
Yeah, but it offers a much more flexibility in the future of the property in that case.
But a new zoning designation also makes churches or any properties that get this zoning designation ripe for redevelopment because of the higher standards.
I can comment on that.
Okay, one last question. So if the church that I attend does want to sell to another church, what would be the impact to that scenario?
Good question.
They would be able to continue operating as a church.
They would what?
That would be a continuation of the existing use, which would be permitted.
Okay. And thank you all
Sure.
for all your help, and God bless
Thanks for
you.
coming. And you got a question about the bridge idea.
Oh.
I think that was brought up at some point in a workshop. I don't know if the consultants ever seriously considered it. I don't know if staff has any recollection of that coming up, or
This has been
Well,
discussed
you can go under the
periodically.
bridge down the street. There's a bike path.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
Goes under the
So
bridge.
we've already,
Underpass.
We don't need
Right.
to build a bridge over, we got one under,
there you go.
so.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Just to add to that, it has been discussed at a couple of points in the past. They are generally pretty expensive. That's usually been a limiting factor in the continued discussion.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Anybody else wish to come up? Sir, come on up.
Sure.
Oh, you're next after this gentleman. You're next, ma'am.
Joe Saffron,
Please spell your first and last name
JoeSzafran,
and your address.
2309 Central.
And please raise your right hand. Do Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Sure, but it's just a question.
Sure.
Again, isn't this putting the cart before the horse, that anyone that does buy any of the property along Kirchhoff, wouldn't they have to, if it is zoned commercial and they wanted to put up house or TC or any other portion that is not in that zoning, wouldn't they just file appeal to have a zoning change for that parcel of land?
You mean-
Why would you have to go through this procedure now to change
We're not
the
going.
zoning? I thought that's what
We're just
talking.
hearing testimony, we're not doing
But
anything.
you're asking why change all this zoning? Why not just have people come in and ask for a zoning variance or
Yeah,
a?
they actually purchase the
a
property
reason.
or whatever.
Well, I think it just makes things way more efficient, and we're trying to have a certain look and feel in the downtown area, and so the idea is mixed use, making it more high density, and so I think just for ease of the business community, to have that kind of groundwork laid so that the rules are already established, so that people don't need to come in and ask for special permission to do something that we're allowing them to do now if those rules do change.
So
If I understood your question, I'm not sure I did.
well, it's zoned commercial now.
No,
No.
nothing has been done.
Well,
This is just talk.
But he's talking now.
About the existing.
Current,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Right.
the corridor along on Kirchhoff, isn't it pretty much zoned commercial? Or
No,
is it-
residential. The churches are zoned
Not
residential.
even the churches. I mean, you know.
But yeah, it
Like
is.
where McDonald's is and.
Right,
But with
that's-
that-
that's
Lots over
commercial.
by Taco Bell.
But
those
with
are
that
all
zoning, there's certain
commercial.
antiquated things in terms of setbacks and just density, and so those would all be changing to make it updated to create a certain look and feel that we're striving for. And so it's not just the commercial versus residential, it's kind of what goes on within.
There's some guidelines in terms of the
So-
design of the
Yeah.
structure
Yeah.
that this would put in.
Understand
Yeah, that's a great question.
Why we're going to change the zoning
Now.
appearance now if nobody's even
Well,
planning to do any development on any of the properties.
It's
It's
if
been
it's
incentivized.
a hypothetical. If someone
Yeah.
chooses to develop, then they have a framework in place for how to develop, and the entire corridor can take a certain look and feel that's consistent. So that's the goal by creating the town center district. But we're not obviously.
How far does the district come to the west? How far does that zoning go to the west?
So on the north side of Kirchhoff, it stops here at City Hall. On the south side, it does take in the commercial properties, including the funeral home and the auto repair.
So it covers all the homes?
No, no homes, only commercial property to the south, and then commercial this would be the one lone property to the north between here and then the shopping center.
So,
So
none of the homes?
There are no
covered?
homes, there are no single-family homes within the proposed rezoning.
Out of curiosity, why'd you include the condominiums?
Simply because the ones included fronted Kirchhoff Road, with the theory that should there ever be redevelopment pressure on those, that they would be consistent with the other properties that fronted Kirchhoff Road.
makes sense, sir.
A little bit. But
It's really just to lay the groundwork, incentivize the business community to come in a relatively easy way to do what they want. That's in a way that's consistent with kind of the new look and feel that we're looking for downtown, so that we don't require people to jump through a bunch of one-off hoops and procedures to kind of do what they want, and then it ends up kind of looking not like how we envision it.
Right now, the churches are zoned residential only.
Yep.
Well, like I said, I'm not worried about what there is at home.
But I'm just saying, if they ever go under, that's the only thing that could be built there if we don't change the zoning.
But
If they
couldn't-
wanna do
couldn't you
something else.
Couldn't you change the zoning in 2 years or 3 years or, whenever the church
But what if
decides
somebody
to-
wants to come in and then we're going back here, it's already, if the plan, if the whole plan goes through and we revisit that, it just makes sense to do it now, in our opinion. I mean, it could be. I mean, we'd have to hear testimony and all that.
Well,
Yeah.
as many
Come back
times-
next
It's
month.
more attractive for growth,
Yeah, it's,
for sure.
but that, 2 years from now or 3 years from now, when we revisit this whole thing, then we could, there's gonna be a change again.
Yeah, I always heard stories that, you find a piece of property in town you like, you find out what it's zoned as. If it doesn't meet your business requirements, you go in front of the zoning board with a proposal and see if you could have it rezoned for whatever your business would be at the time, and that's how I thought the process worked. But apparently.
Well, we're trying to do this in kind of a holistic way and 30,000 feet look, kind of not just one-offs, and that's kind of how we got here today. We're trying to kind of re-envision the downtown and make it look a little better.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, you're next. Could you come on up to the microphone? And please state your first and last name and spell your...
Betty Anderson.
Oh,
Betty Anderson.
and spell your name, please.
BettyAnderson.
And please raise your right hand.
I have difficulty hearing, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
I thought there was going to be a follow-up from the other meeting, and I was surprised that the council voted last week. Why did they vote when they were supposed to wait for your recommendation of this week?
We voted the first item, which included the road diet, to city council. We sent that to them. We voted yes on 3 of the items, and we couldn't reach an agreement on the road diet. That piece is now with city council. It is out of our hands.
Okay. I've lived in Rolling Meadows since 1964 with my family. Some of the plan makes sense, signage and more lighting, but others I totally disagree with, in particular Kirchhoff. Other places are widening their streets, and we are doing the opposite. For years, plans have been made to encourage businesses to start in Rolling Meadows. Nowadays, people can stay at home and order online. No need to leave home. Even big malls are having difficulties. Parallel parking is not an incentive for residents or visitors alike. And in order to tear up Kirkhoff for trying to induce shops, unique or otherwise, does not make sense. A bike path is already here. The various committees, council and consultants and everyone else have lost sight of who is paying the bill. IDOT is to close lanes on Kirchhoff in the next few months. When are we going to hear about that? And speaking to people, I found that a lot of people don't utilize the newsletter. They put it in the ecology bin. So that's not a good way to get in touch with people. Didn't they think of doing the houses and the flats above the last time that you were building things?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Are you asking about in the last
The last
study?
building in Rolling Meadows, they were going to put houses, or at least flats underneath. No, shops underneath and flats above. That
Yeah,
was one of the recommendations. We didn't
don't
do
know.
that, so why are we deciding to do it now, messing up Kirchhoff? My last comment isn't very nice. I have an A for those involved. It's not for admirable or A+, but the word is asinine. meaning extremely stupid or silly. Shouldn't there have been a referendum for all of this?
Okay.
Question for.
Good question.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of what we're doing now throughout this entire process, is allowing public input, and there's been plenty of opportunities for engagement throughout this process, and there will continue to be so. But I don't know if staff has any, is this something we could put to a vote of voters?
I will admit to not be as versed as Assistant City Manager Cole in some of these items. I would just say, as he's repeated several times to City Council and here, any of the changes specifically to Kirchhoff Road are things that can be done through a routine budget. It doesn't require increasing taxes. These are things that can be budgeted out over years, do not necessarily mean an increase in the budget. So as far as just a question of whether or not the idea is palatable to the public and whether that's the referendum, that would be a decision of the council, and I'm not aware that, generally speaking, councils are in favor of providing every minor decision to the public. But
Sure.
again, that would be a decision for council, not staff or not the planning commission to decide.
Out of curiosity, how much was this total plan going to cost the city?
I don't have those numbers on me specifically.
Ballpark. Give me a
I
ballpark.
would prefer not to estimate.
So in other words, it's pretty big, is what you're saying.
No, I just don't have all of the numbers, and I wouldn't want to give you a wrong estimate.
Thank you, ma'am, for your perspectives tonight.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Anybody else tonight? Great. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Any other comments, questions from commission?
Hold up.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I'm Annette Zaffran, ANNETTE,
Your address, please.
2309 Central Road.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I don't understand why you think zoning to whatever zoning you said about commercial. We haven't seen anybody beating down the doors to come to Rolling Meadows to bring their businesses. Let's be really honest here. Whether you change the zoning for more retail, it's not going to happen. The Planning and Zoning Board have really screwed up our downtown for years. You built all those nice homes over on the southeast corner of Kirchhoff and Meadow, but you skimped on the outlots. Why? You were looking at the dollar signs of having more townhomes in there, and you left of 3 lots that are so narrow, nobody wants to come in. Whether you zone it the right way or the wrong way, they're not beating down the door to come here. You have to look at reality, and I don't think any of you do that. You all are looking through rose-colored glasses, hoping by changing all this plan, things are going to mysteriously happen, and they're not. For 30 years, they haven't changed. By taking out some of the entertainment areas and changing a lot of the zoning before, all of this, you've really messed up our downtown. You allowed condos to come off of Kirchhoff Road next to the bank. So why would a retailer want to come in? And this late Betty is right. People are staying home. They're ordering things online. You can get something the next day, even the same day with Amazon. Well, if you change all these zoning things, what is it going to accomplish? Nothing at all.
We don't know that.
You do know. You look at your past history. What has it taught you? You said you've been on the commission 30 years.
30
Thank
years.
you. But you're looking through rose-colored glasses, too. I could tell by what I see in front of me. What have you done to improve anything in 30 years?
The Dominic thing was we tried to get stuff in there and people were against a lot of it. I was on the
No,
commission
one
at that.
project we were against,
Oh, no.
the South Park.
There were 3.
And the other 2 were?
I don't remember because I've been on it so long.
There were only one other, and then this developer came in. Well, there were a couple of developers because one, I think, just didn't come back or whatever the situation was.
Right, there were other developers that
But
decided not to
again,
come
you
in.
skimped on allow them to build on more property and skimped on what was supposed to be a reserve, a water retention reserve, and then the outlots. And the outlots are too small for a business to come.
That was the decision of the purchaser. That was the property. That was the plot.
But if you said to him, you could only have this half of the sandwich, you can't have the whole thing, he would have only developed what he could. But he had to come before this board, not maybe all of you, but before this board, the planning and zoning, to make those changes to his plans. And you allowed it.
Because that was the only thing that could be built.
That was what you saw could be built.
Okay?
Yes.
At that point in time,
At
yes.
that point in time. But
Correct.
has it been, you're getting tax dollars, we're getting revenue from it, yes.
Right.
But you gave him the whole sandwich instead of just giving him the half.
Well,
You
that's-
were in
that's-
control as the planning and zoning board.
We were not in control
not in
of the
Yes,
property.
you were. If
Not-
you're,
not-
if you're
not-
saying
not
how
the
you
survey.
can change zoning, you are the ones that hold that bag.
Yeah, ma'am, you raised some good points about the challenges of bringing business in. People can differ about what's desirable and what's not. I totally get it. We're living in, there's a reality to all this, and we can't just snap our fingers and turn into downtown Arlington Heights. But, our
No.
idea is, we need to do something. We need to incentivize people. A lot of what you had mentioned those are things that were in private decisions that we don't necessarily have control over. We don't have control over everything that happens in this city regarding building and zoning and planning. So, we're here to interpret the zoning code
Right.
and do what we can within that code. We're not all powerful, but you do raise some good points. So, thank you,
Well,
ma'am.
And the second thing I want to make a comment about is just because someone comes in as a consultant, that doesn't make them an expert. And I think everybody is relying on this plan of theirs, saying it's such a wonderful idea. Some parts are good, yes, but for them to come in and say, cut down Kirchhoff Road to 2 lanes instead of 4, doesn't make sense. And the other thing is, when we build condos today.
We agreed with that.
What's that?
We agreed with that.
Yeah, we did.
So,
When we build condos today, or in most areas, they want residential with mixed use. Kimball Hill was before his time. If you look at it a linear way instead of a horizontal way, he had houses and he had a center of town. He planned it that way 70 or some years ago. He foresaw the reason to have residential and then commercial. Now, what do we have? We have a mess. We're trying to make it something that it will never happen again. We had it back in the day. It'll never come back the way it was. No matter what kind of zoning you change it to, they're not going to beat down the door. I'm sorry. If you guys think that's the greatest thing that's going to happen in Rolling Meadows, God bless, because I don't see it happening. I don't see anybody really big coming in here. And of course, we didn't pursue the idea enough with that lot that we did have. There were attempts, but there have not really been hard enough efforts. We could have had a lot of other things there. And I have one more question. The lot across the street from us, on the corner of Owl and Meadow, what is that zoned at right now?
guys,
Probably residential. Probably
I should know off the
residential.
top of my head, I'm sorry.
I know they were gonna build a building there that, the last time when I was there, the guy was supposed to put a senior citizen housing unit there and he walked away from it.
No, that was for the.
It's zoned for
downtown.
commercial.
No, that was that lot.
That was South Park, yeah.
It's,
No, that was that lot.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
it's zoned for corridor commercial.
Okay. What if we took that piece of property and made a state-of-the-art police department there? Instead of a second floor cramped in spaces that are too small for all of their needs. Instead of spending $800,000 to narrow down Kirchhoff Road, could we build?
Oh,
Or
sorry.
they would have to come before this
It's-
board?
We have no control, we have no power of the purse, we do nothing with, that's the city council, so, good question to them. Next meeting's April 8th.
Good.
So,
No, but she brings up a good point. When we were talking earlier, when the Eagles went down and when the Dominics went down.
Listen to your opinion?
hold on, ma'am.
She brings up a good point, because we were talking earlier, when the Eagles, or what was it, Eagles? Yeah, when that closed down, that building sat vacant for years. When the Dominic closed, it sat vacant for 10 years before
Yep.
somebody, and
Because it was under lease, right? You couldn't get it right away.
no, nobody wanted to buy it. I mean, there was no, I think the only one that wanted to buy it was a senior living, wasn't it?
No, they had another town housing unit initially that was going to go there, but the residents were against it. That kind of went away until the next group of houses came in, because they wanted to do something different over there that the residents didn't like.
In either case, I think
Right.
over the time, the only thing that made viable use of those properties was residential.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the only one that wanted that property to
Correct.
do anything with it.
Yep.
And I think, wasn't there supposed to be a preschool to go in that empty plot that was in front, and we kind of shut that down?
I have another
No, no.
question.
All
Are
right.
you saying that the council, they don't really listen to your recommendations?
No, they do.
But they can
They can make
decide
their
to
own
do something
decisions.
different.
Yeah, they can override our decision.
Correct.
Or our recommendation.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Thank you for backing us.
Yeah.
Anybody else tonight? Okay, again, really appreciate everyone's attendance and involvement. Unless anybody up here has anything else, I think we'd like to move to continue the hearings, the pending matters regarding the zoning changes till the next meeting next month,
Okay.
May 6th.
I move to continue the public hearings regarding the agenda item number 2, text amendment creating a new TC zoning center district, and agenda item number 3, map amendment reclassifying to the new TC district zoning district, to a PC meeting regularly scheduled on Tuesday, May 6th at 7 p.m.
Motion by Commissioner Gherkin. Is there a
Second.
second? Seconded by Commissioner Leone. By voice vote, all in favor, please state yes.
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 All opposed, please state no. With 6 yeses and 0 nos, the motion to continue the pending hearings 2 and 3 for tonight is continued till the next commission meeting, May 6th. That concludes the 2 pending items of pending business for tonight. And on now to the first and only item of new business, that being Jennifer Tallarico on behalf of Vishwa Narmia Dharma applicant, under approval from Kevin McCaskey, the property owner, is requesting a special use permit to operate a meditation studio categorized as an art studio, workspace, or teaching at 4300 Lincoln Avenue, units Q and R, as the subject property. Staff, is the file in order and has proper notice been given?
Yes and yes.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing in this matter and to enter the staff report included in tonight's packet into the record?
I'll motion to open the public hearing for the special use permit for 4300 Lincoln Avenue, units Q and R, and to enter the staff report.
A motion by Commissioner Gherkin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner, was that Modi or Leone? Leone. Seconded by Commissioner Leone. By voice vote, all in favor, please state yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, please state no. 6 yeses and 0 nos. The motion carries, and the public hearing in the matter is now open. I would now call upon the petitioner, Ms. Tellerico, to present your application. So come forward. We're familiar with your application, but now it's an opportunity for you to provide a summary or any additional information you wish. We could ask questions, then we'll hear from staff, ask them questions, and then we'll hopefully decide the case and make a recommendation, which again, as you've heard tonight, is only a recommendation on the zoning matter before us, and it'll be referred over to City Council for a binding vote. So again, enough words. Could you please state your name and spell your first and last name?
Yes, Jennifer is out of town. I am
Okay.
here to present our non-profit organization. My name is Neziha Agrawal, Neziha Agrawal, Agrawal.
And what's your address?
927 Peregrine Drive, Palatine.
And what is your relationship to the business or the applicant tonight?
Yeah, we are non-profit. I am in the community board and for the non-profit organization.
So you're on the board of the nonprofit
Yes.
that will operate
Yeah.
this. Okay, please proceed.
Yes, we are an official non-profit organization, volunteer-led meditation. We have been serving the worldwide 1970, and we offer free meditation classes for everyone. And in Chicagoland, we have been offering classes very long, like since many years, I can say, in the Chicago Public Libraries, many libraries, community services, any events. And for as a organizations, we are also very freely offer everything that we can help the community feel, reduce the stress, and help them to feel better. And
We could
also
use some of that tonight.
Oh, definitely. I
So,
think
we get free meditation?
I think
Sorry.
this modern time we all
resist.
need it, all of us. And also we offer for the help the educations of the kids. We are partner with the many schools and nearby schools that Jane Addams, you are maybe familiar, that we have been offer 2 times programs for all the kids to help them to reduce stress and help them to better in educations. So we are currently have a lease center in the Wooddale. Wooddale City Center open, ribbon cutting, and the officials were very supportive. And we want to have our own permanent place. We've been very happily tenant with them. We never had any issue with our neighborhood or landlord, because we are very peaceful, calm, and helping everybody to feel better. Our meditation classes, currently we offer beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Beginner classes mostly on the weekdays evening after office hours, because we are all volunteer. And 6 p.m. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Thursday, and Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. And our advanced class is on Saturday evening, 7 p.m. And attendees of the weeknights, beginner and intermediate classes, like around 5 to 10 people. And advanced sometimes gets a little bit bigger group. And we have enough parking lot to serve us. And for the building, we are not planning to do anything change in the outside of the building. Our building is has enough AC, air conditioning, and cooling and heating system. We have enough restrooms to serve and create a nice, beautiful environment for the people.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the commission.
So the way I understand it, you're not gonna do anything before 7 PM. I guess during the week and during the weekend, is that correct?
Not necessarily. Currently, we offer classes after office hours because of volunteer. We are volunteer based. Nobody's making money, so that is the time we are available.
Okay.
But we do sometime if we offer for classes for mommy, little ones, that we use morning hours as well.
So your technically your office, your business hours are what? 9 to 10? Do we have a range of when you would be officially open for classes?
We advertise and choose the class hours. We won't be there whole time.
Right.
We comes for the class if there are classes for the young kids or the begin morning classes at the 10 a.m.
Right.
Length of the class is about 1 hour, and the evening class is 7 p.m. around 1 hour or 2 hours.
So 7 to maybe about 8
7
or
to
9.
9, yeah.
7 to 9, okay. And then since you're going to be doing most of these at night, is there enough lighting on the outside of the building to be safe for everybody to get to their cars and their vehicles?
There's a designated parking lot in the back. I didn't see any issue there. Everything was fine.
Okay. And you said it could be up to 40 students, so I'm assuming a lot of people come into more than one car, because I don't know if you'd fit 40 cars in that parking lot, maybe depending on how many people are there.
That's why I want to mention that our weekdays class is mostly very small, when the beginner and intermediate. Advances can be larger.
Okay.
But since all the offices, all the buildings are gonna be not using their parking lot, I don't see many issues. But if needed, we can also use parking lot on the street,
Okay.
like parking on the streets available.
And I'm assuming, city, that there's enough room in there to get an ambulance or a fire truck in there?
Certainly, they have a circulation route around the building, just on the parking lot as well. There are 106 spaces at the site.
Okay.
They've been designated 12.
Okay. Now, I'm assuming Q and R are either next to one another and back, is that correct?
Correct.
Because I didn't see a layout, I just saw the little square, so I wasn't sure how that worked. So are they next to each other, I'm assuming?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's like one, the other, okay. And so the only things you're gonna do is kind of remodel the inside, put a kitchen in there and other amenities for there, and I'm assuming you have enough bathrooms for everybody to hold the number of people, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Anybody else? Are you gonna remain at your Wooddale location, or are you moving?
Our lease is ending
Okay.
end of the April, and that's why we are hoping to buy this building. And
Sure, okay. So you're buying the building?
Correct.
Okay. You're buying the units.
2 units,
Right,
yes.
okay,
Yeah, not the building.
right.
I hope in the future maybe where we
Sure.
have more people attending.
Well, that's a question. If there is enough interest, would you consider expanding, offering more classes, and potentially, do you foresee a need to maybe take up more space?
We won't need more space. We're offering more classes, mostly because those classes are smaller capacity. Maybe very occasionally could possible, but it is not currently.
Sure. And how long have you been in operation in Wooddale?
6 years.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. You
Sure.
had mentioned having kids here. Do you have a designated plan to get them from the parking lot into the space and back out safely?
Currently, we don't offer only kids meditation. Only they should come with the parents,
Okay.
not with the all alone.
Okay.
Like if you go to schools, yes, of course we are invited with the school, but we don't just get the kids alone.
Okay. Very good. And then I also see that you have use of 12 designated spaces.
Correct.
So does every unit there have, 6 to 12 spaces each? I'm wondering how you intend to accommodate 40 people on a weekend if the spaces designated to each unit, and you only have 12?
Because of those buildings are all the official like businesses, they are not using on the weekends as or after office hours, like almost like we are perfect fit, because when they actually leave, we are getting in. And I don't think there will be any issue with the parking. And we checked it on the road, along the roadside, there are enough parkings, and doesn't seem that we will have any issue with the parking problem.
Well, I guess what I'm really asking is, you're buying these units, are these designated spaces that are for you, and do the other units also have designated spaces? Or is everything common and you just assume that you have 12 spaces for yourself, where if nobody else is there, then they're not designated to a specific unit and anybody can use them?
I don't see that.
So, Ken,
Please.
Please come on up, sir. We're gonna need to swear you in too.
Sure.
So please state your name first and last and spell your name.
So my name is Dilip Agrawal, DILIP, AGRAWAL, and I live in also 927 West Peregrine in Paratine.
Great. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
So they are not designated to a particular unit, but each unit have 6 spots that is, for them. But it's not, there is number for, this particular parking spot is for unit Q and this particular. So there's 106 total spots are available.
So there's a declaration or something, you're buying this, it says all this parking is common?
Correct.
Okay. All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Staff.
Certainly. Yeah, I'll try and make this one relatively quick. So Visual Nirmala Dharma is a specific type of meditation studio, or Sahaja Yoga. They offer free classes, as you said. It's a volunteer, 501c3. You can sit down if you like. It's okay. So in the zoning code, we don't really have a great category for them. Essentially, it would be classed under art studio, workspace, and teaching. So that is a special use in the M1 district where this unit is. So they're not really planning too many modifications in the building. They will require building permits, obviously, for the work that they have proposed, and then obviously the business licensing process after this. So they are shared in this unit. The property is a shared unit with a couple of smaller consulting, office space. There's an IT software developer and a very small wholesale distributor of food goods. Obviously, to the east of the site, you've got Methode Electrical across the road over Hicks, and then you've got you've got a business park, complex to the south, which is Euclid Office Center. They host a lot of again smaller, fairly low intensity uses, and then to the west you've got single family residential, and it's quite I would say a very classically Rolling Meadows quiet residential neighborhood around there. So the proposed kitchen and dividing wall changes, again, very low impact on the structure overall. The structures appear to have sufficient HVAC and toilet amenities for the use. And generally, in discussing this property with the petitioner, we did see it as it would suit the petitioner's needs quite well. So we don't expect that there's a particularly high intensity of use or creation of nuisance. Typically, it's a fairly contemplative practice, fairly low noise level, and with the traffic moving outside of those regular business hours would help. So as the applicant noted, weekday evening classes, generally 5 to 10 people, as we've been told. Weekend classes may be a little bit bigger, 40 people thereabouts. Again, you've got fairly quiet it's low waste. They're not really receiving large deliveries or distributing anything. So truck traffic is probably not so much of an issue. And then obviously there's, in terms of impact, there's also the positive impact kind of elements to these kinds of petitions as well. Again, the city likes to encourage cultural and spiritual organizations. They're a charity that offer their services for free for members of the community. And they've also expressed quite a lot of interest in collaborating with schools and other institutions in the city. So an added benefit is that the organization appears to be quite widespread across kind of the greater Chicago metro area, and they do bring people in, at least for these services, from across the region. In terms of access and parking, the units are relatively well separated, again, from Hicks Road. You have your traffic access points mostly to the north exit, and then with the circulation around the rear of the building where the primary parking lot is. There is exit on the south on Lincoln, and then also a kind of thoroughfare along the east side of the building there as well. So in total, this site has 106 parking spaces by my count. I've been informed that they have been guaranteed 12 spaces. How that is organised is slightly more news to me, but the applicant has, essentially they meet the minimum required parking for this use and this floor space. So, any questions?
Nope. Any questions? How many other vacant units are there in the building? Do you know offhand?
I don't believe there are any more vacant units in this building. These two units specifically have been vacant for over 2 years. And from my understanding, I met with the property owner a couple of weeks ago, and he expressed that they had some applications from prospective tenants, and the condo board rejected a few not being quite suitable enough. And so essentially it's been kept on the market probably a little bit longer than it should have for those kind of restrictive reasons.
Okay. And staff has reviewed the petitioner's standards and findings of fact, and do you have anything, I mean, you don't disagree with anything in there,
We
do you?
reviewed them and we found them comprehensive.
Okay. So basically the upshot is this seems like a relatively low-touch use.
Sure.
Fitting in nicely with the surrounding businesses and activities.
So very low impact on
Great.
the neighboring residential uses. So I think that's generally a positive for these types of transitional structures.
Mm-hmm. Anything else of staff? Thank you. Now it's time for anyone from the public who wishes to come forward, ask questions, provide any comments, testimony. Hearing none. Unless anyone has anything else from my fellow commissioners. Yep. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing in this matter?
I'll motion to close the public hearing for special use permit for 4300 North Lincoln Avenue, units Q and R.
Motion by Commissioner Gherkin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner, you guys sound the same. To me anyway, Leone. Commissioner Leone. At least when you say your voices. By voice vote, all in favor, please state yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please state no. With 6 yeses and 0 noes, the motion carries and the public hearing in the matter is now closed. I see we have a sample motion prepared by staff in the packet. Anything to discuss there from commission? Hearing none, can I have a motion for recommendation to approve the petition and the findings?
Based upon a submitted petition and testimony presented for public hearing special use permit for 4300 Lincoln Avenue, units Q and R, I move that the City of Rolling Meadows Planning and Zoning Commission make the findings of fact provided in the petitioner and the attached hereto as Exhibit 2, and recommend that the City Council approve the special permit set forth in the draft ordinance.
Motion by Commissioner Gherkin. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Aha, seconded by Commissioner Bircher. Staff, could you please call the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Burchett.
Yes.
Commissioner Gerken.
Yes.
Commissioner Leone.
Yes.
Commissioner Modi.
Yes.
Commissioner Sheehan.
Yes.
Chair Buckingham.
And I'm a yes as well. So with 6 yeses and 0 nos, the motion carries, and the recommendation to approve the petition is granted and will be forwarded to City Council for first reading at their next meeting on April 8th. So that's it, folks. Please show up at the next commission meeting, and hopefully they'll vote you and approve and welcome to Rolling Meadows. So.
No,
Yes.
it's in city, yes, in the same place.
Same room.
Yeah,
It's in the same
same room.
Same
So,
room.
yep.
Same.
I wish this was our own room, but we have to share it with the big people. All right, thank you, folks. The next is, this is something new that we're going to be doing, right, guys? Just kind of final time for anybody from the public that wishes to comment, question on anything on your mind, zoning related, that you've not already had a chance to do so. Now's the opportunity to do so on the record. This being America.
Everybody's running.
Yes, everyone's got the right to speak, so, okay. Everyone's already all talked out. Great. Okay, can I then, staff, is there any other items?
In
Any
the interest of
reports or
time-
updates?
In the
Nope.
interest of time, unless there are any questions about specific development projects that you guys are looking for updates on, I'll just say nothing else to report.
Call it.
You guys good?
Yeah, I'm good
No.
with that.
Thank you, Mr. Alina. Can I have a motion then to approve the adjournment of tonight's meeting?
A motion to approve the adjournment of the meeting for Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Motion by Commissioner Gerken. Is there a second?
I second.
That would be Commissioner Leone. By second. All right, I'm getting it.
I had to do that.
All in favor, please state yes.
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 All opposed, please state no. With 6 yeses and 0 nos, the motion carries, and the meeting for tonight is adjourned as of 8:57 p.m. The commission's next meeting will be May 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. So folks, if you want to watch those notices, and if there's a hearing on the merits, please show, and even if those matters are continued, you're welcome to show, and we will do this again.
For the agenda.
Yes, be sure to look for the agenda. Thank you,
Thank you.
and good night.
That's a night.
Yes, that's a wrap.
Always want to say no. What was that website?